Hi, so here we are for the last recorded lesson that I'm going to do for you. It's going to be quite a short one. It's just to speak about the last grammar point in the book, which is relative clauses. Now, if you want to follow in your books, it's on page 85. There is the explanation of the grammar. Okay, so I'll start off by just looking at the relative pronouns, which I'm sure you all know. So who, when you're speaking about a person, where, when you're speaking about a place, which, when you're speaking about an object or a thing. Whose, this one is the one that maybe people get a bit confused with. Whose, when you're speaking about possession, okay? So he's the man whose dog bit me, or she's the girl whose boyfriend ran in the New York Marathon, for example. I forgot to say, often these relative pronouns are tested in the use of English paper when you have the gap fill exercise. Okay, so in these spaces, they're often relative pronouns. So let's have a look how they're used in relative clauses. So basically, relative clauses are separated into two different types. We have defining and non-defining. Okay, so the defining ones are ones that give us essential information about the thing or the person that they refer to. Okay, let me give you this example here. The girl who lives next door, is Italian. Okay, so here the part that I'm gonna put in red is our relative clause, who lives next door. If we remove this relative clause, we know that the girl is Italian, but we have no idea which girl we're speaking about. Okay, so this relative clause defines the subject, the girl. Okay, and then we have our non-defining relative clause, which simply gives us extra information. Okay, let me give you an example here. So we've got London, which is the capital of England, has, now I'm not actually sure how many inhabitants London has anymore. Let's say 10 million inhabitants. Suspect it's a lot more, but anyway. So here, I'll put it in red again. So this is our relative clause. In this case, if we remove this relative clause, we still understand that London has 10 million inhabitants, okay? This, which is the capital of England, is extra information. All right. Now, there are a few grammar rules concerning the different types of clauses. So when we're speaking about defining relative clauses, you will notice that there are no commas. Okay, we don't use commas here. Often we can use that instead of what or which. So use that instead of what or which. This information is all written in your book. I'm just doing it here to kind of try and explain. And then we have this particular case where we can omit the relative pronoun in a particular circumstance. So let's say we can omit the relative pronoun if it is the object of the verb in the I have to type fast, in the relative clause. Okay, sounds a bit complicated, but if I give you the example, you'll understand immediately. So let's say the man who I saw yesterday was tall. Okay, this is our sentence. We'll underline in red our relative clause. Okay, so in this sentence, I is the subject. The man is the object of the sentence. So we can eliminate the relative pronoun. So it makes perfect sense in English to say the man I saw yesterday was tall. Okay. Instead, on the other hand, we've said if it's the object of the sentence, we can omit it. If it's the subject of the sentence, then we can't. So let's just make a note here saying if it is the subject, we can't omit the relative pronoun. Let me give you an example again here. So let's say, again, the man who cut my hair was, let's say he was handsome instead of tall this time. So obviously here, the man is the subject, okay? So it doesn't make any sense if we say the man cut my hair was handsome, okay? So in this case, because it is the subject, we need to keep the relative pronoun. Okay, so this was about defining. Then we had our non-defining. So let's look at the few rules about non-defining, which are very simple. We must use commas in this case. Okay, so at the beginning and at the end of the relative clause, we have to use commas. In this case, we can never use that to substitute, like we did before, to substitute what and which, okay? And here, in this case, we can never omit the relative pronoun. So it doesn't matter if it's the subject or the object, we can never leave it out, okay? One more point about relative pronouns. If there is a preposition, it goes at the end of the sentence, okay? So we'd say, I love the music that you are listening to, not to which you are listening, okay? The music which you are listening to and not the music to which you are listening. Maybe in the past, people used to put the preposition together with the relative pronoun, but now in spoken English, also in written English, it sounds much better separated at the end of the sentence. Okay, let me pause for a moment while I find the next exercise. Okay, so just for a bit of practice about what we saw related to relative pronouns and relative clauses, if you have a look at page 64 in your book, and I'm showing it to you on the screen now. So exercise 1 is a really, really simple exercise where you have to complete the sentences with the relative pronouns. Perhaps a bit more interesting is the exercise 2, where you have to answer some particular questions. Have a look at that now, and then I'll go through the answers with you. Okay, so if you pause for a moment, then I'll tell you the answers. Okay, so the answers that you should have had here. Very simply, the judges are really looking for someone who has imagination. Write down every possibility which, obviously, comes into your head. You might get inspired by topics. Again, we're talking about things, so which, I apologise as usual for the awful writing. This one here, ask friends whose opinions. Okay, again, this possession, the opinions belong to the friends. So whose in this case. The non-defining, making a brilliant video, which, and the other students, we're talking about people, so who I got to know. Okay. Looking at the questions then in exercise 2, in which sentence could you omit the relative pronoun? Okay, now what you should have answered here was in sentence 3, and the reason why, if you remember what we saw previously, is because the word topics here is the object of the relative pronoun, of the clause, I'm sorry. So the reason here, yeah, this was number 3. In number 2, in which sentences could you put that instead of who or which? So here you had different possibilities. Sentence 1, sentence 2, and also sentence 3 with these possibilities. So we know that if it's a non-defining clause, you cannot substitute with that. But here it would be possible to say the judges are looking for someone that has imagination. Write down every possibility that comes into your head. And you might get inspired by topics that other kids have covered. Obviously, number 4, you wouldn't say ask friends that opinions you can trust. It just doesn't make sense. Okay. And the question in number 3, the difference in punctuation, we said before, is the use of commas in non-defining clauses. You can see them here. Okay. So that was everything for that exercise. So moving on to exercise 3 that you can see here, it shows you a sample of 2 paragraphs of a candidate's essay, okay? And what it asks you to do, complete the text with relative pronouns, as you can imagine, and the most important part here, indicate where that or no pronoun are possible alternatives, okay? Have a go at that now. Pause it and then I'll tell you the answers as usual. Okay. All right, so let's have a look then at these answers that you should have had. So first of all, oops, the screen is a bit blurry. Okay, so what you should have had in the first place, it's a subject, pen isn't writing, which is incredibly important. Obviously here, you could also use that because we're speaking about a defining clause, okay? Number 2, if you are the kind of student here, the only possibility you can have is whose, okay? Careful of the pronunciation here of this word, physicist, okay, a physicist. Then continuing, science is the subject, because science is the subject which you are interested in. That is also possible in this sentence, okay? And here we have the situation where you could also omit these relative pronouns, okay? Because it's the object of the sentence. You is the subject, okay? So because science is the subject you are interested in, and probably the one which, that, or also nothing. It's the same situation as the previous number 4. Okay, I'm just going to have to turn off the pen a moment to move the screen. Everything goes blurry for a minute. Okay. Number 5, less able students. So here, obviously, the big clue are the commas before and after. Okay. So here, the only possibility is who. Okay, because we're speaking about a defining relative clause. The same case for number 6, these subjects. Again, we've got the commas, these subjects, which can be hard at higher levels. So again, the same situation as 5. And number 7, the students will then get very frustrated with science, which means they will behave badly in class. Okay, so this again, non-defining, so we can't omit it or substitute it with that. Finally, that will make things very difficult for the teachers who or that. Okay, here it's not possible to omit anything because teachers is the subject and not the object. Okay, so I hope you got on okay with that activity and managed to understand it. Like I said before in the explanation, you're not going to be asked in the exam to explain the difference between defining, non-defining, when you can omit, when you can't omit. But just be aware that probably in the use of English, the gap fill exercise could be related to this topic. Oops. Okay, let me just pause for a moment. Okay, so you don't need to worry about doing the other exercises on this page, on page 64. If you want to, you can have a read. It gives you some more ideas about writing the essay, how to structure the essay. What I want to do is to go on to the next page. So you can see here that there's an essay question which asks about global warming. If you want to, if you have time, if you're not in the 5th year preparing for your exams, then have a go at writing the essay and send it to me to correct. Have a look, have a go, try at exercise 7 on this page. It's page 65, okay? This is just choosing the most appropriate word between the two. Okay, so have a go at that and then pause, and obviously I'll tell you the answers. Okay, so let's have a look at what these answers are. You shouldn't have had any problems at all, I think, because it wasn't difficult. So first of all, you should have said scientists, what did they do? They discovered that our planet was getting warmer. You can't use identified here because we have that, okay? If you use identify, it's followed by a noun, okay? So you'd have to say, I don't know, scientists identified a plant, an animal, something, okay? So something that is a noun. Number 2, they argue. Okay, this not argue in the sense of maybe like litigare. It means when you give your opinion about something. Okay, so they argue. Number 3, they claim. They're not concluding. We don't know at what stage they are. You conclude something at the end. Okay, so they claim. If you claim something, you say it's a fact. Okay, you'd say affermare probably in Italian. So actually the purpose of this exercise, I guess, is to introduce some more interesting verbs that you can use rather than saying always they say, they write. You have here they argue in number 2. Number 3, they claim that the atmosphere. Number 4, they have warned us. Okay. Believed us. Sounds horrible. Okay, so they've warned us. Number 5, most scientists would. Here, we need to use the word say. Report just doesn't sound right in this situation. Some people, therefore, think, okay, you wouldn't use that after express, okay? Again, you would normally use a noun, express an opinion that, okay, but not express that. I'm just going to read the next line for the vocabulary. So we have floods. Remember, we looked at this in the environment vocabulary. So we have floods, fires, this word drought. Remember, drought is when there is an excess of heat, a lack of water, okay, pollution, etc. Number 7, I think governments should encourage. So if we were at school now, I would be asking you, why can we not use suggest in this situation? And obviously you would tell me that suggest has to be followed by that, or it has to be followed by an ing form, okay? It's never followed by a pronoun, okay? And finally, in number 8, obviously here in this context, he's disagreeing with the idea that it is too late to do anything. Okay, I think that was everything for this particular exercise. Sorry, every time I want to turn off the pen, everything disappears, so you'll have to rewind if you need to see that again. I'm going to continue going down. Some of you have already sent me the essay, from a month or so ago, about the robots, so we're not going to look at that one. And, oops, I've gone down too far. Oh no. That's right. I don't have page 66 here because I decided it's a page that it's nothing new for you. It's basically looking at vocabulary about computers that I'm pretty sure now a lot of the words that we use in English are in general use also in Italian. Maybe, what could I point out to you? The fact that we say surf the net. You know, if the examiner asks you, I don't know, what do you use computers for? I use it to surf the net. Okay. Of course, now after this experience of online teaching, online learning, you should have quite a lot to say about computers and the use of computers. Okay, so if you feel unsure about this vocabulary, then the vocabulary on page 66, have a look, but I'm not going to waste your time here going through it now. Okay, what I wanted to look at instead is on page 67. So this is quite important to look at, I think. It's the part of the use of English paper where it's the word transformation, not the sentence, but just the word. And remember, we've said in the past, when you do this exercise, it's important that you look in each space and you try and identify, what do they want here? Is it a noun? Is it an adjective? Is it an adverb? Try and work it out from the context of the sentence that you're reading. So have a go at doing this exercise now. So first of all, think about, for each gap, what is it that you need to use in each space? Okay, so pause it now and have a go. Okay, and now I'll have a look at the answers with you. Okay, so first of all, the word that we're looking for in this space, in space number 1. Oops, I'm sorry. Let me go back here. No, first of all, I'm sorry, I need to make it bigger. Oh, I missed my whiteboard, my blackboard. Now we should be able to do it. So portable computers first came. Here you're looking for an adverb. Okay. Number 2, although they mark the beginning of. Here, actually, it depends. No, it doesn't. I think here you could only have an adjective because it's describing the advances. Okay. Number 3, easy. You have the. So if you have the article, they're looking for a noun. Okay. Also here, you're looking for a noun. It gained in something. So it's a noun. Again, number 5, we're looking for another noun. Continue to reduce there. What? Okay, it's a noun. Or number 6, not very interesting here, but another noun. I'm writing N. The older models were, let's have a look, number 7. We're looking for an adverb here. Number 8 today is, so here we're looking for an adjective. Is what? Obviously this is a describing word, it's an adjective. It's now in number 9, a noun. And number 10, we're looking at another adjective. Okay, so I'm going to have to cancel that again to move down. And here are basically the words that they've given you to fill in the spaces from the previous exercise. So for each word, based on whether you think whether it's an adjective or a noun or an adverb, try and think what is the correct word. Sorry, I'm tired. The correct word that would fit in each space. Okay, pause it now, do it, and then the answers will come next. Okay then, so let's fill in our spaces here. So I need to try and follow from the book so I can write at the same time. So number 2, they mark the beginning of technological advances. Okay. Number 3, they lack the ability. Okay, that shouldn't have given you any problems. It's the same in Italian. Number 4, they never really gained in popularity. Okay. And number 5, reduce there. Okay, we're looking at weight. Okay, their weight. Number 6, 10 years of development. Again, be really careful of the stress on this word. I know I say this very often, but development. Number 7, we had actually. So the older models were actually too heavy. Number 8, the adjective, the laptop of today. Now this one, we need to be careful. Remember, you always need to think, is it positive or is it negative? And here we need to use both a prefix and a suffix as well. So we have unrecognizable. recognizable. Let me just repeat the pronunciation for you. So remember, not recognize, but recognize. You have to separate the G from the N. So this word, unrecognizable. All right. Number 9, it's now in competition. And number 10, powerful. Okay, and yeah, that was everything for that particular exercise. Again, I'm going to have to cancel this one here. So I hope you managed to get all of the answers. Moving across the page. So this is basically another exercise. Oops, we're at the top here. Which I think it's quite easy actually to make mistakes with this one. So we're looking at, this is number 8, how you make these words negative. Okay, if you want to have a go first, then pause it now and have a go, and then I'm going to tell you the answers. Okay, so let's have a look at the first one. So the negative of approval is disapproval. Okay. Experienced, it's inexperienced, not unexperienced, but inexperienced. Unfortunate. Okay. The next one is easy because it's the same, I think, in Italian. Yeah, dishonesto. So dishonesty. Okay. The next one that we have, illegal, simple. Impatient, I-M. The same with polite, I-M, impolite. Sorry, that writing's terrible. So impolite. Next one, unreliable. This one, there are sometimes mistakes. Irresponsible. Okay, somebody is irresponsible. This one as well, sometimes some errors. Dissatisfied. You need to repeat the S, so dissatisfied. And here, a misunderstanding. Okay, misunderstanding. In a moment, after you've tried to do the exam task, I'm going to show you a website that I've actually knew about a while ago but forgot. And it's got loads of exercises that you can practice doing these type of word transformations with. Okay, so before I give you that information, let's just have a look at the exam task. So here it's the normal situation where they give you a word and you have to think about, I just had a visitor. You have to think about, which form of the word needs to fit in the space. I'm going to move my photo across to that side so we can see the text. Okay, so have a go and then press pause and then I'll tell you the answers. Okay, so the answers to this one. So about this guy's sailing bike. And first of all, you should have had, with number 1, it's quite a dramatic sight. Okay. Number 2, initially, he wasn't sure. Okay. Number 3, he was given permission. And number 4, illegally. Let's continue. It was a real struggle because of the strength. Now, be careful here because you might think, okay, strong to make the noun, it becomes ness, strongness. No, doesn't exist. Be careful because some of the words actually change the form completely. Strength is one of these. Before I'd written down some other words that do this. So remember, if you have the word weigh, the noun of this becomes weight. Okay, if you have strong, it's not strongness, but strength. Another one, if you have wide, then it becomes width, W-I-D-T-H. If you have high, it's not highness, but height, H-E-I-G-H-T. And then if you have long, it becomes length, L-E-N-G-T-H. Okay, so just be careful of these words that speak about measurements. Sorry, close the brackets there. Number 6, you should have passionate. He's always been passionate about sailing. His here, knowledge. Careful of the pronunciation as well. Not knowledge, but knowledge of sailing was very helpful. The last word. Okay. I've just thought of another couple of cases where people often make mistakes. In Italian, when you would say like prodotto, produttore, just be careful there that it's product, but it's not productor, it's producer. Remember as well that if you have exam, it's not examinator, but examiner. Okay, that's another one. Okay, I'm just going to pause for a moment while I try and find the website that I wanted to tell you about. So just before we finish, I wanted to show you the website that I mentioned before. So it's here. You can see the address at the top of the page. And I'll send you the link as well. So basically it's this web page with all kinds of exercises to prepare for the exam. If you have a look on the left panel at the one that says Spotlight Paper 1, so this has all kinds of exercises to help with the reading, the use of English part. Okay, so just for example, to have a look at part 3 that we were looking at just now, so the word formation exercises. Let's just choose one at random, the opposite meanings. Okay, so different things that you have to do. It gives you all the different possible prefixes or suffixes to make the opposite, and you choose the correct one. Okay, some of them quite easy, you know already, some may be a bit more difficult. So if we go back again there, it seems there's a video as well that I didn't know about this video. The other thing that I think is particularly useful on this website, the word bank. If you go back to the menu on the left and click on, excuse me, word bank. So every weekday, they give you a new phrasal verb or a word formation or a collocation to look at. Let's just click on the phrasal verb, for example. So here, okay, this is a phrasal verb that we've looked at when you find something out, or often in a book. What do you do in a dictionary? You look up words. Okay, so this is just a good way to practice stuff that we've already seen, maybe also to learn new stuff. I appreciate that if you're a 5th year student, maybe you have other things on your mind at the moment, but this could be useful also the days before the exam, once your state exam is over, just to do some kind of last minute practice as well. Okay, that's pretty much everything, I think, from the book as well. The last thing left to do is on page, sorry, I'm just looking at my book, page 69. There is a final listening exam task. Okay, so have a go at doing that. You have your answers in the book, so you can check the answers there. Okay, and that's everything for now. So I will see you on the 9th of June. That's right, I think Tuesday the 9th of June for a meet we will practice speaking. And as per usual, send me work if you've done something or get in touch if you have any doubts. Okay, have a good 2nd of June. I hope you get to relax a little bit. Take care. Bye bye.